Hey, Alan here for Old English Outfitters. If you watch our channel, you're familiar at all with the gun industry. You're familiar with a company called Taurus. Taurus is headquartered down in Brazil, been there for a long time. Started life operating off some old Beretta machinery that Beretta originally had down there that they let them have. Taurus based some of their early designs on Beretta designs. And one of the pistols they based on a design that Beretta had was what Taurus called the PT-22. It was based on Beretta's tip-up barrel type pistols. They've made those in 22, 25 ACP, 380 ACP, 32 ACP. We've reviewed the 32 here, I believe. Well, today we have the Taurus, they call this the 22 TUC. It's kind of a modernized, upgraded version of the older PT-22. It uses the Beretta tip-up barrel design, so when you throw the little lever there, that pops the barrel up. It is a semi-automatic 22 long rifle pistol. Magazine holds 7 rounds. Put the magazine in, tip the barrel up, put 1 round in the barrel, close the barrel down, and it runs semi-automatic from there. 22 long rifle. Now, guns like this, you always want to use high-velocity 22 long rifles in to make sure that they run reliably, okay? And we really didn't have any trouble with this running reliably. We use CCI mini mags in it, not a problem. The aesthetics, just the way it looks, is kind of nice. They've done a good job on overhauling the design. Trigger guards shaped a little bit differently, runs out here to the front. The construction of the bottom part, the frame of this pistol, is polymer. And then you've got a steel barrel and slide and some internal steel components. Guns like this set really low in your hand. So sometimes if you got a really large hand, you'll end up here and that slide will track you. If you ever had that done to you, it's not a pleasant experience. Well, that tang will help prevent that from happening. I don't have huge hands, so I really don't have any trouble with it. That doesn't mean somebody out there with hands much bigger than mine wouldn't. You might, okay? So something to keep in mind. It is a double action only trigger. So when you pull it, you cock the hammer. It's got a little hammer back there, right? Hammer cocks and fires. It's double action every shot. It does not transition to single action. So it's like shooting a revolver. You got that long trigger pull. It's not super light. It's not super heavy either. Maybe kind of somewhere in the middle is what I'd call it. The grip is pretty rounded and actually feels pretty good. To my hand, that feels pretty comfortable. On the front of the strap, the front strap here, we've got just a very shallow little bump there. I didn't really notice it. It's not so big that I think you would, somebody, because sometimes bumps like that on the front of a pistol like this, they hit you wrong, This didn't feel bad to me. It's going to be an individual thing as to whether or not you like it. Got some deep cocking serrations up here on the slide. Now, the idea behind the pop-up barrel is that you don't have to pull the slide back, right? Okay? You pop the barrel up, you put the round in, you close it. You never have to pull the slide back. That sounds like a wonderful idea, except for one small minor little issue. If this thing jams for some reason, because you're not using the correct ammunition or something else is going on, you probably are going to have to pull that slide back. And because it's double action and the hammer sets forward, you got to overcome the hammer spring too. So it can be done, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. So just kind of keep that in mind, okay? The barrel has an octagon shape to it. Kind of interesting. Gives it a nice look. The sights are pretty good. I'm going to give it some credit for the sights. The back sight's fixed, and they seem to be pretty well regulated. We didn't shoot anything really small with it, but I tossed a few rounds at a couple of leaves laying on the backstop. Was able to hit them with no trouble. Not bad. Not a bad sight picture. The rear sight steel sticks up a little bit. It's plenty wide enough without being overly so. The orange on the front there comes right to you. The design of this type of action that Beretta originally started, they were the pioneers of it, and Taurus continues it here, doesn't use an extractor, doesn't need an extractor. You're using cartridges that you can operate in a blowback gun, so it doesn't have to be locked shut. So the cartridge force pushes the slide back and out it goes. And it works. It works pretty good. Magazine. Magazine's metal. It has some very shallow tabs on the side of it to pull the follower down to load it. Not the most comfortable arrangement in the world, but it works. We, right off the bat, had issues with the magazine. it ran reliably to the last round, and the last round would always hang up. So we took the magazine, loaded it. Magazine holds 7 rounds, by the way. So 7 in the magazine, 1 in the barrel, you got 8 up. 7 rounds in the magazine, loaded it full up, let it set for a few days. Tried it again, worked flawlessly, no problem at all. So it might just be an issue where the magazine spring has to break in a little bit so that it'll reliably feed. This pistol is a Taurus branded weapon, but it's not made in Brazil. It says on the side of it, made in the USA. They have a facility down in Bainbridge, Georgia, and that's where this is made. Not a bad little 22. Not bad. If you want a really small 22, pretty easy to carry, what's this aimed at? Is it a plinker? It could be. The double action trigger is not going to make it a comfortable plinker for a long period of time. But mostly it's kind of aimed as a small, light 22 caliber defense weapon. Will it suffice for that? Yeah, we think so. I would take something like this if you were using it, relying on it, shoot it a little bit, put some rounds through it, get it broke in good so you know everything's functional. A defensive pistol has to be reliable. It doesn't have to be tack driving accurate, but it's got to work. Our second go round with this after we got the magazine broke in, works fine with correct ammunition. Again, we use CCI mini mags. No trouble, works fine. We're going to see these. Price and availability is going to vary a little bit. As always, we encourage you to check with us on that. There's one other variation of this that I've seen that it's exactly like this, except the slide is stainless instead of being black. Okay, so if you favor that look, especially if you want something that's maybe a little more maintenance-free, that's not a bad way to go. The design improvements they've done to this pistol, I've shot a couple of the older ones. The design improvements are nice. They've done some good stuff here. So if you're in the market for something like this, it's probably not going to be hugely expensive compared to some other things that are out there. Is it the best defensive choice? It's going to depend on what you need, what you're going to want to do with it. There are other choices that may be better, but this has a mission. This has a particular mission, and you're probably going to use it for the parameters that you have for it. The magazine release, by the way, is over here. It's not talking about a defensive gun. It's not a combat magazine release necessarily. Pistols like this, you don't usually reload under stress. You're going to use what's in them, and if that didn't solve the problem, you're going to end up doing something else. So just something to keep in mind. That's what we have for today. The Taurus 22 TUC, new product out of Taurus. So if you're interested, check with us. Price and availability, as I said, may vary a little bit, so just give us a call, see if we've got them where we're at on them. Thank you very much for watching. We appreciate it greatly. Until next time, I'm Alan for Old English Outfitters.